Day 1 feels different. You are locked in. The goal is clear. The plan is set. You go to bed that night feeling like something has genuinely changed this time. Day 2 you show up. It is a little harder, but you push through. You tell yourself this is what discipline feels like, and you feel good about that. Day 3 something shifts. The initial energy is quieter. The task feels heavier. The reasons you started feel slightly further away. And somewhere between day 3 and day 5, most people are gone. Back to the old pattern. Back to the same life. Telling themselves they will restart next Monday. This is not a willpower problem. It is not a character flaw. It is biology, and once you understand exactly what is happening inside your brain across those first few days, you will never be ambushed by it again. Here is what is actually happening. On day 1, your brain releases a significant amount of dopamine. Not because you have achieved anything yet, but because you have made a decision toward a goal. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical the way most people describe it. It is the anticipation chemical. It fires in response to the pursuit of a reward, not the reward itself. The moment you commit to a new goal, your brain floods with dopamine because the pursuit has begun. That flood is what day 1 feels like. That energy, that clarity, that sense that this time is different, is largely neurochemical. By day 3, the novelty has reduced. The dopamine response to the same action drops significantly because the brain habituates to repeated stimuli. What felt exciting on day 1 is now a known quantity, and your brain no longer treats it as new, which means the dopamine response is smaller. The motivation you felt was never going to sustain itself, because it was built on a chemical that is designed to fade as novelty decreases. This is the trap almost everyone falls into. They interpret the day 3 drop in motivation as a sign that something is wrong, that this goal was not right for them, that they are not built for this kind of discipline, that it is time to reconsider. They treat a predictable neurochemical shift as meaningful information about their character. It is not. It is Tuesday. The chemistry always does this. The people who succeed long-term are not the ones who feel motivated every day. They are the ones who understand that the motivation drop is coming, expect it on schedule, and have built a system that does not require motivation to function. The first fix is to stop designing your habits around how you feel on day 1. Day 1 you would do almost anything. The goal feels important, the energy is high, the commitment feels absolute. So people design their new routine around day 1 energy. They plan to wake up at 5, work out for an hour, meditate, journal, eat perfectly, and complete 3 major work tasks, all starting tomorrow. That plan was designed by the dopamine-flooded version of you, and it requires the dopamine-flooded version of you to execute it. By day 4, that version is gone, and the plan collapses. Design your routine for day 10 instead. Ask yourself what this habit looks like on a day when you are tired, when you do not feel like it, when the initial excitement is completely gone and this is just a thing you do. That version of the habit, the stripped-down, minimum viable version, is the one that actually survives. A 10-minute workout you do every day beats a 90-minute workout you do twice and abandon. The shorter habit builds the streak. The streak builds identity. The identity eventually makes the habit non-negotiable, and from that point motivation is no longer the relevant variable. The second fix is understanding what actually replaces motivation over time. Motivation is what gets you to start. Identity is what keeps you going. These are completely different mechanisms, and most people never make the transition between them because they keep trying to restart motivation rather than building identity. Identity in this context is simply the story you tell yourself about who you are. When someone who never misses a workout is asked why they train even when they do not feel like it, the honest answer is usually not because they are motivated. It is because missing the workout conflicts with who they understand themselves to be. The workout is not a task they are doing. It is an expression of a self-image they are protecting. You can build this identity deliberately, but it requires a specific approach. Every time you complete the habit, even the stripped-down minimum version, you cast a vote for a particular identity. You do not announce the identity and then try to live up to it. You accumulate evidence for it through repeated small actions until the evidence becomes undeniable even to yourself. 2 weeks of consecutive 10-minute workouts, even easy ones, even ones you barely showed up for, builds more genuine identity than one perfect week followed by abandonment. The consistency is the message your brain receives about who you are. Perfection is not required. Presence is. The third fix is what to do specifically when day 3 arrives and the drop hits. Because the drop is going to hit. Knowing it is coming is not the same as knowing what to do when it is there. When you wake up on day 3 or 4 and the motivation is gone and the task feels pointless and your brain is generating 100 small reasons why today should be the exception, here is the exact sequence. Do not negotiate. The moment you start internally debating whether to do the habit today, you have already made the loss more likely, because the negotiation itself drains the mental energy you need to act. The debate is not a neutral process. It costs you. Successful habit maintenance almost universally involves reducing the number of decisions required around the habit. The habit happens at a fixed time, in a fixed way, without a daily decision being made about whether to do it. The decision was made once, at the beginning, and what follows is execution, not re-evaluation. Start with 2 minutes. Not because 2 minutes of effort is enough to build your goals, but because 2 minutes is enough to overcome the inertia of not starting. The hardest part of any task on a low motivation day is the moment of beginning. Once you are in motion, the internal resistance drops dramatically and most people continue well past the 2 minutes. But even if you stop at 2 minutes, you maintained the streak. The streak is the most valuable thing you own in the early weeks of a new habit, more valuable than the quality of any individual session. Make the environment do the work your motivation cannot. On a high motivation day, your willpower can override a bad environment. On day 3, it cannot. So on day 1, when the energy is high, restructure the environment so that the habit is the easiest available option. Gym clothes next to the bed. Phone in a different room before sleep. Book on the pillow. Running shoes at the door. The person who succeeds long-term is not stronger-willed than the person who quits. They simply built an environment that made the right action easier than the wrong one on the days when the difference between the two was slim. The fourth thing to understand is the difference between motivation and momentum. Motivation is a feeling that precedes action. Momentum is a force that follows action. Motivation decreases over time because novelty decreases. Momentum increases over time because evidence accumulates. The entire goal of the first 30 days of any discipline practice is not to stay motivated. It is to build enough momentum that momentum begins doing the work motivation can no longer do. This means the first 30 days require a different mindset than the months that follow. In the first 30 days, the only metric that matters is whether you showed up. Not how well you performed. Not whether the session was optimal. Not whether you feel like you are making progress. Did you show up? That is the entire question and the entire measure of success during the momentum-building phase. Progress during this phase is almost invisible from the outside, which is another reason people quit. They expect visible results in week 2 and see none. They take the absence of visible results as confirmation that the habit is not working. But the most important work happening in the first 30 days is not physical or external. It is neural. New pathways are forming. The habit is becoming familiar. The identity is accumulating evidence. The momentum is building. None of this is visible yet, but all of it is real, and quitting on day 12 means losing all of it and starting from zero the next time. There is one more thing, and it is the part almost no one talks about. The drop in motivation that hits around day 3 to 5 is actually a test, and your brain is paying close attention to what you do when it arrives. Every time you feel the drop and continue anyway, you teach your brain that the drop is not a stop signal. Every time you feel the drop and quit, you teach your brain that the drop is exactly that. You are training a response pattern that will apply to every future attempt at discipline you ever make. This is why people who have quit habits repeatedly find it harder and harder to start again. They have trained the response. The drop arrives and the brain, drawing on extensive prior experience, immediately generates the quit response because that is what has always followed. The pattern is wired in. And this is why breaking through day 3 once, even imperfectly, even with a 2-minute minimum session on the hardest day, changes something real. You begin rewriting the pattern. You give the brain a different piece of evidence to draw on next time. Day 3 is not the end of the momentum. Day 3 is where the habit actually begins. Everything before it was the dopamine. Everything after it is you. Show up on day 3. The rest will follow.